Maria tells Georg that the Reverend Mother tells her that when the Lord closes a door, he opens a window. Yeah, a window to my drawers. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when and where you are watching. Welcome to Everybody Loves Ray. That's me. I'm Ray. And we're gonna do a different type of video. I've never done this before, but we're gonna try it out. Do you like my microphone? I'm traveling, so I'm using a lint roller. Not that I've ever used a microphone before, but I feel like this is one of those things that you do use it for. Today, we are going to be talking about and recapping and deep diving and all of those words. The 1965 Robert Wise directed musical, The Sound of Music. This is one of my favorite movies. I grew up watching this. It's a timeless classic. It broke records at the time that it was released, held the highest grossing spot for I think about 5 years, and it also won Best Picture at the Oscars. Can we get an applause? Okay, so The Sound of Music is a musical drama. It's nearly 3 hours long. The film is set in Austria in the 1930s. It is based on a real memoir by the lead character herself, Maria von Trapp, who starts off not being a Von Trapp. It's about the Von Trapp family, okay? And in the movie, Maria is played by none other, the icon herself, Julie Andrews. There's gonna be a lot of applauses taking place today. The overall synopsis for the first half, at least, is that Maria is a nun who gets a job as a nanny and finds love and a new family while teaching the joy of music. This is kind of the OG enemies to lovers, at least in my personal upbringing. What could be better? We're in Europe, in a mansion, in a musical, based on a true story, and other stuff. We'll get to that. In other words, this movie was set up for success from the beginning. So we start the movie off in the mountains. We're shown a bunch of aerial shots of said mountains, along with some lakes, some nice buildings, some churches. They're clearly trying to set the vibe. It's summer, it's sunny. And then, oh, who is that? Maria. On top of a hill. We pan closer, and then boom, we get our first song, titled The Sound of Music. Fitting! The hills are alive with the sound of music. So Maria, at this point, she's really embracing the main character realness here. Like, she's channeling her inner Aurora, she's channeling her inner Belle. She's doing what I did time and time again in my own backyard when I was 7 years old, so clearly it never leaves you. So the song is essentially about how music and singing is liberating and blesses her life. She doesn't come to play, like, the talent is doing its thing. Right out of the gate, Miss Andrews is showing us what we've all come to see, and it's her. Ladies and gentlemen, her. Like, unfortunately for Maria, while she's busy doing all of this slaying, she ends up being late for church because, remember, she's a nun. Now, Maria is not like the other girls at the nunnery because, unlike them, she's more of like a black sheep. She's unusual. She's unreliable. She causes trouble, and she's a hot topic among the nuns, living their minds rent-free. So much so that the next song is called Maria, and it's sung by the nuns. And I know what you might be thinking, but it's not, in fact, Justin Bieber's Billie Jean inspired classic Maria. I felt like I needed to clear that up. They're really going after my sister in this song. They just don't think she has what it takes to be a nun. And yeah, sorta kinda. But this line is downright bitch mode. How do you find a word that means Maria? A flippity-gibbet, a will-o'-the-wisp, a clown. Nasty. There's a Reverend Mother in particular, and Sister Margareta, who actually has our backs. They understand that Maria, she's just a girl doing her best out here in the nunnery, as they should. And they continue to have our backs throughout the entire fucking movie. So we stand. Not all nuns are bad. Some nuns are cool. Nuns are cool. I think we need to speak more on that and amplify that, you know. Maria has a chat with Reverend Mother, and Mother tells us that she thinks that we've got to go away for a while because maybe this nun life isn't really for us, and she might be onto something. Maria, she wants to sing every day. She's a pure theater girly, but like at the nunnery, you're not allowed to all the time. Like you can't be running off in the hills, okay? It's a church, it's not a stage. So Mother's like, girl, you gotta go and experience life a bit before you dedicate yourself to us. So she assigns us to become the governess, nanny, for a family of 7 children. 7, with their widowed father, Captain Von Trapp, aka Georg, who is also aka played by Christopher Plummer. Rest in peace. Maria agrees, obviously, like she doesn't really have a choice. She's pretty nervy on her way to the house because like 7 children is a lot. And if we know anything about children, we know they can be rude and unhinged. And these children are no exception. So while she's got our bags and a dream, we get the song I Have Confidence, aka her hype song.
I have confidence that spring will come again. Besides which you see, I have confidence in me.
You know, she's entering a new era. She's got to get in the right mindset. And clearly she has to sing her own song because Beyonce and Britney and Megan Thee Stallion don't exist yet, unfortunately for her. I mean, times were hard. She gets to the address and she's feeling herself. She's ready to go. And then, oh, it's a fucking mansion. Oh. Okay, yeah, they're rich. They're rich. All right, accommodations. And I get paid? I mean, I would do this. Maybe. And of course, the inside of the house is also gorgeous because it's that old money, you know? And so Maria does what we would all do in this moment. She starts snooping. So she enters a ballroom. She's starting to act out, like she's bowing to people and pretending like there's a party going on, whatever. She's like in the middle of bowing. The doors burst open and Georg, the captain, is just like standing there. And he's got this gray suit on and his hair's all nice and he's looking real stern. And it's kind of embarrassing for us, but you know what? Sometimes you just gotta be a little silly, okay? And he's not a very silly man, so he needs a little bit of this. Their first conversation, he starts assessing her and he tells her that she needs to change. And she's like, well, this is the only dress I have because we give our clothes to the poor at the abbey, the nunnery, right? And he's like, well, what about the dress you're wearing? And she's like, well, the poor didn't want this one. He's thinking what we're all thinking. So she's like, well, you know, I make my own clothes and I didn't have time to make them. And he's like, okay, like I'm gonna get fabrics for you because he's rich, right? He's like, we need to fix you up right away. As if Julie Andrews isn't like the most perfect human being in the world. Like, please, am I supposed to believe that you don't find her extremely attractive right now, sir? Let's get it together. Maria quickly finds out this gig is not exactly what she thought it was going to be, which is kind of what happens every time we accept any job ever. The captain tells her that since the children's mother died, that they've had 12 governesses, and the last governess they had only lasted for 2 hours. So that's not great for us to hear. So she's like, what's wrong with the children? Because clearly there's a common denominator here. And he's like, there's nothing wrong with the children. Only the governesses. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, sure, yeah, okay. So after listing all of the strict rules that these children have, Georg pulls out a whistle and blows into that whistle. Immediately, the kids come bustling out of their rooms and line up in a line from oldest to youngest. And they're all dressed in uniform, which means that the oldest, who's 16, is wearing the same exact outfit as the youngest, who's 5. Yeah, I'm moving out as soon as I turn 18. He begins to blow the whistle in some like marching rhythm, and they begin marching down the stairs to join them. It's giving military. It's giving authoritarian. You know, where's the playfulness, the self-expression, the joy? Georg would rather take away his kids' happiness than go to therapy. It's sinister. This is where we meet the kids. Okay, so let's break it down. Going oldest from youngest, we've got Liesel, who's 16, Friedrich, who's 14, Louisa, who's 13, Kurt, who's 11, Brigitte, who's 10, Marta, 7, and Gretel, 5. Maria is not pleased with the whole whistle thing. Okay, so she tells him,
whistles are for dogs and cats and other animals, but not for children, and definitely not for me.
Feminist queen. She gets silly with it. She's got jokes, okay? He starts to leave the room and she blows the whistle at him and he's like, and she's unbothered and she's like playing innocent. She's like, well, sorry, I don't know your whistle. And he's like, you may call me Captain. Yes, sir. So yeah, we have that typical banter going for us already. Whether he knows it or not, he's met his match. She's not like the other governesses. So at first, these children are nasty little gremlins. They don't give Miss Maria a warm welcome. They're already on her ass about her clothes, how they don't need her, and they're like trying to get her to mix up their names. She's handling it with grace, unlike me. I would have chewed them out by now, you know, fuck them kids, but Maria's better than me, and so we have to give her credit for that, because it doesn't take much. The only kid that's like actually nice to us is Gretel, the youngest, so we love her because she loves us. Somehow, at one point, one of them ends up sneaking a frog into her pocket, and it like jumps out and scares her. And apparently the last governess, the one that lasted 2 hours, they put a snake in her pocket. Where are these children finding these animals? You just have a snake on hand? Like, what? Even so, yawn. Let's get a little more creative up in here. Like, if we're gonna commit, we gotta commit. So we move to dinner time, right? And once again, the kids are not behaving themselves. Maria goes to sit down, and she doesn't see that there's a pine cone in her seat. I mean, it's boring, it's slappy, lazy. They really think they got her too, like they're snickering, whatever, but little do they know that she's about to hit him with some psychological warfare. So she like thanks them for their little gift, the frog. Doesn't actually say it's a frog, in front of Georg, and says, you know, like, it was so nice to be received so well after I was so scared of being accepted and being in such an unfamiliar place. And so she's basically like guilt tripping them, and so like the youngest ones start crying, which then leads to like a chain reaction. Not all of them, but like basically the younger half crying their eyes out because they like feel so bad. They thought they can play her, but no ma'am. She's one of a kind. She's here to stay. New character alert / love interest. We meet Rolfe, and him and Liesl have a little secret fling going on. He's basically like their mailman. He like sends them telegrams. She sneaks off after dinner to meet with him. This is where we get a #1 hit, 16 going on 17.
You are 16 going on 17, baby, it's time to think.
Now, this song single-handedly rebranded Gazebos forever. They were never the same after this. Gazebos around the globe were like, where's my check? I was a staple. I was the pioneer. This was the peak in the Gazebos career. Okay, choreography. Now, the song itself is slightly problematic because it's kind of about how Liesl needs to like find an older man to tell her what to do. And like Rolfe is an older man. He's 17 going on 18. At a time like this, I guess 1 year older, you might as well have been twice Liesl's age. They do kiss, but they don't end up together. And we all cheer for that, and you will soon know why. It's a very valid reason. But we do get this moment of Liesl interpreting somebody going down that first really big roller coaster hill. We can't really complain about it at this point. While the song is going on, it started thundering and raining really hard, so by the time Liesl gets back to the house, she's drenched. And for some reason, she decides to climb in through the window of Maria's bedroom while Maria is in the middle of prayer. Maria still catches her, but Maria ain't no snitch. She's gonna help a girl out. So she gives her dry clothes, all that stuff. The thunder is thundering. It's putting all the work in. Like, the special effects creators of this movie were really, like, they had a job to do. Gretel comes in. She's super scared. The rest of the girls come in, and then the boys eventually come in. They're coming for her. They're running to her, a woman they haven't even known 24 hours, for comfort. It's giving parent. It's giving potential new mother. Maria says that when she's scared, she thinks of nice things. Alexa, play Seven Rings by Ariana Grande. The next song is My Favorite Things. Ariana uses the melody / like the purpose of the song for her own track. In case you weren't cultured, in case you weren't aware of the lore here, yeah, Julie was the OG singer of Seven Rings. Actually, like, Ariana's version is just a cover.
When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad.
I simply remember my favorite things and then I don't feel so bad. Like, this is gospel. And this is when the kids come around. We start to bond. YouTube circa 2000s, it gets better. But, of course, the fun has to come to an end. Why? Because of Georg, of course, who interrupts us. It's getting tired to me. It's all about the discipline, following the rules, yada yada. Like, he just doesn't like fun, like most fathers. But good news, he's leaving for Vienna the next morning for who knows how long, so we don't have to deal with his stupid ass rules for the time being, which means Maria is going to continue doing what she wants to do for the children. So the next morning, or at least the next scene, we see her and the kids going out, and if there's one thing about Maria is that she is a seamstress. She is a crafty girly. And so the kids are all wearing outfits that Maria herself made out of her bedroom curtains. Can we get a commotion for the fits? Once again, we need to give her flowers. You thought the OG girl was Gazelle from Enchanted? No, actually, no. I'll be the first to make sure that Maria gets her credit. Project Runway is scared of her. She's the winner of every single Drag Race sewing challenge. Like, I know that's right. One thing she does successfully, family-friendly fashion couture. She takes them to her hill, the hill that we see her singing on in the very beginning, and they're picnicking, they're laying on the grass. It's very Pinterest vibes, very mood board, and she finds out that they don't know how to sing, which I don't know how you don't know how to sing. I feel like it's something that's ingrained into you, especially the older people. The mom would have had to be alive when the oldest, Liesel, was 11 in order to have Gretel. So you can assume Liesel was at least 11, could have been 12 or 13 when the mom died. So you're telling me that even when the mother was alive, they still didn't sing? Because I don't know if I mentioned this, but it was kind of like singing wasn't a thing because the mom died. I'm confused by the logistics. Are you telling me that an 11, 12-year-old didn't know how to sing? Like, Liesel should know how to. You know what? It's fine. It's fine. We can't look too much into it, okay? So Maria, of course, decides to teach them how to sing. Oh, what's that? Oh? It's do, re, mi.
The first three notes just happen to be do, re, mi.
Okay, music theory. I feel like if you're gonna know one song from this musical, it's gonna be this one. Like, music teachers all over the globe were like, they cooked here. And there's a part in the movie where they do some bike choreography.
A drop of golden sun, a name I call myself.
It's mad impressive. And then they literally come together in like a perfect vertical line from oldest to youngest.
A note to our soul, tea, a drink with jam and bread.
That's cinema. If you don't get it, you don't get it. I want to know how many takes that took. It's important to point out that they're singing the song for days, because it's incorporated into a montage. So there's a lot of outfit changes. If it was me, I would hope that we would change it up a little bit. Like, I would hope that if I was learning how to sing, it wouldn't have been this one song every day. Because, you know, we don't want to overplay it. If Spotify existed during this time, it would be on all of those children Spotify Wrapped. Top song. It was that serious. Maria was not playing around. She was determined to make them musically inclined. This montage itself literally took 2 months to shoot. So even in real life, they were literally singing the song every single day. Oh! Oh! I love it, but I don't love it that much. My God. So eventually, though, Georg does come home, and he's joined by his GF, the Baroness Strader. So we'll kind of call her the Baroness. That's kind of like what she's called throughout the entire movie. And Uncle Max. I don't know if he's actually an uncle, but that's what he's called. They're both very posh, very wealthy. She's a fashionista, and she eats every single look. She is showing the girls up. Even Maria herself, bless her heart. And even though she's not the one for him, and she's not the one that we want for him, credit needs to go where credit is due. They're driving back to the house and they come to a bunch of trees that are lining the road, and there's a bunch of kids in those trees. Guess which kids are up in those trees? Ours. They're not all just in one tree, they're each taking their own trees down the road, because obviously, right? I'm not really sure how they all got up there, but we're just gonna move on from that because they're like laughing and cheering and having a good time and not like depressed. He doesn't recognize them. The Baroness asks like, who are those kids? And he goes, oh, some local urchins. Never heard that one before, but I think I'm gonna steal it. You know, he's the father of the year. Like, that's what it all comes down to, is that he's the father of the year. They're at the house. Rolfe comes by. He tries to see Liesel. He's literally throwing rocks at her bedroom window. Liesel's not there. She's up in a tree right now. Get it together. Keep up. He gets caught by Georg and then out of nowhere salutes Hitler. What happened to, hello, how are you? My name is. Okay, so it's that kind of movie. I see. Yeah, we don't stan Rolfe anymore, but good thing for us, Georg is not about that life. Alright, he tells him to scram. In fact, Daddy Captain has an altercation with Uncle Max right after, because Uncle Max says, what's gonna happen is gonna happen. Talking about Yahtzee Germany invading Austria, mind you. And he goes on and he goes, just make sure it doesn't happen to you. Oh. That's not... So Georg snaps at him.
Max, don't you ever say that again.
King shit.
You know I have no political convictions. Can I help it if other people do?
Oh, yes, you can help it. You must help it.
So really, unhealthy fatherly tendencies aside, we're rocking with Georg, okay? We didn't know he was still like that. There's still hope left. Finally, the kids show up and the fun can commence. We're getting bored at this point. These adults aren't much fun. Their backyard is like a courtyard and then it faces onto like a lake pond thing. And they come in on like a canoe in the water. They're all looking pretty fine for have just climbed trees. Like there's no scratches, there's no dirt. And knowing track record, I would assume that one of them would have fallen and been crying. Like, let's be realistic. But yeah, they're coming in and they see Georg and they start waving at him and they get so distracted that the canoe tips and then they all fall into the water. Fun fact, in the filming of the scene, the youngest, Gretel, was supposed to be caught by Julie Andrews because Gretel couldn't swim, but on the take, when Julie was supposed to fall forward, she accidentally fell backwards, so she couldn't get to Gretel in time, so Gretel almost drowned. But at least we got the shot. Anyway, I guess it's not the first impression that Georg wanted for his GF, so he's not happy. He's big mad. We see the return of the whistle, which really means he's angry. Cue enemies to lovers Quarrel. He tells the kids to go inside. The Baroness excuses herself, so now Maria and Georg are alone outside, and she's like soaking wet, and he's like all like prim and proper as he is. So he asks her,
Have my children, by any chance, been climbing trees today?
well, yes. He's also pissed about the outfits because he's boring, and he's like, well, they have uniforms. And then she goes, straight jackets more like it. Gagged him effortlessly. Maria, why you gotta do me like that? So they start arguing about the children, and she's defending her decisions like she should. And then it comes to this.
Said I don't want to hear any more from you about my children.
I know you don't, but you've got to.
There's tension. Adrenaline is pumping. And she continues to read him for filth. She's literally going down the line of each kid, telling him how, like, unfair he is to them and how he treats them poorly. It's really a marvel to watch. Like, this man needed to be humbled quick. Because, you know, he's never been spoken to like this in his life, right? Or at least in a very long time. But this is not even the best part. The best part is when he gets so flustered and so pissed that in order to get her to stop, he accidentally calls her Captain.
I don't care to hear anything further from you about my children.
I'm not finished yet,
Oh,
Captain.
yes, you are, Captain.
She's the captain now. And she is. She's running this house at this point. Who's Georg? Like, I hate to say this, but I don't know who this man is. To save face, he tries firing her, but doesn't really get so far because then the sound of the kids singing from the house distracts him. It's like the first time he's heard the kids sing. And this next scene, like, honest to God, I literally, like, tear up. And it's not because I have daddy issues. It's just wholesome, okay? He goes into the house and the kids are back in uniform and they're singing The Sound of Music acoustic version to the Baroness. He starts humming along because he recognizes the song, and he goes in and he like starts singing along with them, and they're like shocked, like they're gagged, they're like, what? They stop and he's like singing all by himself, and then they join in, and then it like ends so beautifully, and then he goes and he hugs all of them, and it's like this sweet tender ass moment. All they wanted was to be loved by their father, okay? Maria is like going upstairs. She's like, okay, I guess I'm fired, whatever. And Georg chases after her and he's like, I'm sorry. You brought music back into this house. I owe you and I want you to stay. Like, can you please stay? Of course, babe, of course. And so yeah, so now they're kind of like in better terms now. So there's not like angry tension happening between them, but there might be another type of tension happening between them. We'll just have to see. Basically, the next appropriate scene to come out of that is a puppet show. Maria and kids put it together, and this is where we get the song The Lonely Goatherd, because it's about goats. There's a lot of theatrics in this one, like it's kind of a whole production. It's a musical within a musical. Wordplay and different voices being used, and there's a story being told, and there's dancing, a lot of yodeling, a lot of yodeling about goats. Despite the haters, it was a smash hit on Broadway. It's so good that Uncle Max is like, there's a folk festival coming up actually in Austria, and I think that you guys need to perform. Well, Georg doesn't really want that. He's like, no, I don't want my kids singing in public. He's trying not to exploit his kids. Like, you don't understand. Like, so many TikTok parents could benefit from Georg. And let's just talk about the 180 of him being an authoritarian father to being one that cares about the exploitation of his children. Like, people can change. Either way, the kids want Georg to sing now, and they hand him an acoustic guitar, and so he starts singing Edelweiss, and it's like a song about Austria basically. Like, it's very touching, definitely exposes him as a huge softie. And in the middle of the song, the Baroness catches Maria watching Georg sing with a little something in her eye, okay? Maybe a little longing, a little yearning.
Blossom of snow, may you bloom and grow.
I mean, he's looking good. He's in that suit. For the first time, a guy pulling out a guitar to sing to us is beneficial to us. You can't really blame her. Liesl, the oldest, joins in, and there's kind of like a father-daughter duet situation. And then at the end, Georg is singing, and his eyes drift towards Maria, and they're like staring each other down, gazing at each other. Yeah, they share a moment. I can't blame him either, because she looks stunning as well. She's in this like flowy blue dress. It's just pure chef's kiss. I want it. Drop the link, Maria, please. And so, as a kind of like damage control for the Baroness's ego, she suggested they have a huge party in the house. We cut to that party next, and when I say it's decked out, it's decked out. They've got live orchestra playing, everyone's dressed in ball gowns and tuxes, and they're dancing. It's kind of giving modern day Bridgerton mixed with a little Gatsby. And there's a guy named Herr Zeller for short, who shows up. He's not very pleased about the fact that Georg has the Austrian flag hanging in his house, because in case you forgot, Yahtzees Germany is common. Zeller is one of the kiss asses and a lot of other terms that I would not be allowed to use on this platform. But yeah, you get the idea. He's not pleased. The kids are outside watching everyone dance. We get this interaction.
I think they look ugly. You just say that because you're scared of them. Silly, only grown-up men are scared of women.
He's not wrong. And then the face Gretel makes gets me every time.
I think the men look beautiful. How would you know?
Just because she's 5 doesn't mean she can't recognize beauty for what it is, okay? Let her speak. Maria comes down. She starts to teach Kurt a kind of folk dance outside, and Georg cuts in. He's stepping in to dance with Maria in the courtyard. Of course it's charged, because Billie Eilish is duh. They're moving so well together. And you know that moment in season 2 of Bridgerton when Cancini and Kate are dancing? It's like one of the last dance scenes. She's in the orange dress and they're like doing this thing. Yeah, that happens. And cue the soft filter. Now this is important because everyone knows that when you're hit with the soft filter, feelings are happening. Tension is in the air. Love, perhaps? Maria kind of panics after that and she kind of pulls away because she's kind of like, what's happening? And the GF, the Baroness, she was watching the entire time. She's looking great, by the way. Didn't know we had an audience, but whatever. Luckily, the kids have to go to bed, and of course they have a little performance for the attendees. You might recognize this one. It's called So Long, Farewell.
So long, farewell, I'll be there saying goodnight.
Timeless classic, one may say. Went double platinum, won a Grammy. In fact, I sing this song every time I say goodbye to anybody, and I always have. The kids, they do come to serve. We get a very, very relatable moment from Liesl here.
I'd like to stay and taste my first champagne.
Yes?
No.
Also, shout out to Kurt for this falsetto note. He's the star. He's underrated. Like, I didn't know your game, babe. He could go solo. The sun has gone to bed, and so must I. Like, that's so real and raw and true. So the kids are gone, and unfortunately we're back with just the adults. We're back on Zeller, the Yahtzee dude. He's being a fucking buffoon, and he gets into a heated spat with Georg. I mean, as usual, Georg eats him up because he's not about to put up with that shit. Time and place. And you did it at my fancy-ass house party. But we will not see the last of him. Maria was told that she could stay and that she could change into one of her nice dresses. So Baroness follows her up. She's a little schemer. Okay, there's scheming afoot. She basically reveals that my BF has the hots for you. Like, he finds you attractive. And of course he would find you attractive, because what man wouldn't find a woman who's in love with him attractive? Oh! And then she proceeds to say that Georg thinks he's in love with Maria. Oh? So this shouldn't be a problem, but it is, because if Maria's gonna be a nun, she can't get married. So she shouldn't really be falling in love with anybody. So she freaks out and she decides that I kind of need to leave. Like, that's like the best choice for me, or else like I'm gonna get hurt. And of course the Baroness is like totally fine with this, and she's like, yeah, I won't tell Georg anything. She gets back into that ratty old dress, gets her guitar, leaves without saying goodbye. At this point in the movie, there's actually an intermission, which we really need to get that again, because the length of these movies nowadays, like, if I could have had that for Avatar, totally different experience. So here I'll provide a 1-minute intermission just so we can fully get that movie experience. Do what you need to do. If you need to go to the restroom, go piss, girl. If you need to get some snacks, go do that, and we'll continue in a moment. Okay, let's continue. We're back at the house where the Baroness is trying to play with the kids, but the kids are understandably not really into it, and they don't even really like to sing anymore or dance. Like, ooh, just gloomy vibes all around because their real mother has abandoned them. I mean, Gretel has a sore finger. Like, it's really serious. It's really scary.
I've got a sore finger.
Matters only get worse when Georg announces to them that him and the Baroness are engaged. Not the marriage bomb. No one clapped. No one cheered. In fact, the kids actually hated so much that they go out without telling Georg to find Maria. Unfortunately, it's a failed mission though, because the nuns tell them that Maria can't see them right now because she's in the middle of some like nunnery initiation phase that requires her to be secluded from people. In truth though, Maria is like not doing well. The other nuns, especially Reverend Mother, are very concerned about her, so Rev Mother calls us in, and that's basically where Maria spills the beans on her feelings for Georg. Mother's kind of gagged, like she's like, oh, falling for a man, it's getting real. All right, but she's a true queen of the movie because she's like, loving a man doesn't make you love God less. Let's repeat that. Loving a man does not make you love God less. Go find out if he loves you back. In order to really drive this home, she does sing a song, and this song is called Climb Every Mountain. This one's usually kind of a skip. I'll admit it just because as a kid, it's a ballad, it's a pretty boring song, you know. It is a fave of my dad, so shout out to the song for that. Maybe it's a fave for the older crowd. Even so, you can't deny that Mother can sing. She's got them pipes. Like, she said, Maria, you think you're the singer? Like, hold up, wait. Let's have a commotion for the high note. She did that, and she always knew she could. She's like, I know we're not allowed to sing, and I keep it under wraps, unlike you, but if I need to show out, I will show out. Of course, Maria does end up going back. The kids are all upset, and they start singing My Favorite Things because they're sad, and then her voice bleeds into the mix, and they're like, ah! And then they run to her, and they hug, and it's all joyful. Greta gets to show her hurt finger. So they give her the rundown, they give her the tea, and of course, the biggest thing is the fact that Georg is engaged. So what now? Maria's feeling pretty defeated immediately, but when her and Georg reunite, there's something in his eye, and the Baroness can see it. She's kind of shaking in her boots a little bit. She's like, oof, not her. I thought I got rid of her. We cut to the nighttime, and Maria is back in her blue dress that she wore when Georg sang his smash hit Edelweiss. She's feeling emo. She's walking in the courtyard at night wistfully, and Georg comes out on the balcony and gazes at her for a while. One thing about me is that I love me some good old-fashioned yearning. The Baroness comes out to join him, rocking this iconic red number, by the way. Like, ooh, she truly never misses. She's trying to make conversation, but it's clear that there's some awkwardness or some tension going on because of the elephant in the room that's literally walking wistfully right in front of them. I shouldn't even call it a conversation because it's literally just her talking, like she's carrying it on her back. Georg is giving us nothing. Zilch. I think that the Baroness can sense that there's something about to be dropped, so she kind of keeps talking out of anxiety. And finally, Georg does interrupt her, and he's kind of like, it's no use. I'm being dishonest, both of us, and unfair to you. And she's like, oh, he's breaking up with me. So she does a kind of complete 180, and she's like, yeah, actually, you're right. Like, you're not the right man for me. And, like, I need someone who, like, needs me desperately, and that's just not you. And that's so true. Like, I hear her. And I get it. But she actually is a really good sport about it. In fact, she literally mentions Maria and is like, go for it. She's so much better than me. And for that, we have to stand and we have to wish her well. And know that she will find someone that will be able to match her amount of slayage. We're at the gazebo again. Yeah, you thought that was her last appearance? No, she's no one-hit wonder, okay? Maria's there, still wistful. Georg finds her. The soft filter also makes its reappearance. He's like, girl, I've been dying to know, like, why did you leave? And also, why did you come back? And she's like, well, I had a job that I needed to finish, so. And he's like, is that all? And she's like, well, I miss the children. And he's like, only the children? You know, he's clearly fishing. He's like, girl, come on, just tell me how much you love me. And she's like, well, shouldn't I miss the children? He's like, of course. It's just that maybe you would stay. And she's like, well, you'll have the Baroness, like she can handle it fine. And of course she says that because she doesn't know what we know yet. And then he says, there isn't going to be any Baroness. And she's like, there isn't? And so he explains that the engagement is off. And she's like, oh, sorry. And he's like, you are? And she's like, you did? They're both gagged. They're entering a gazebo now, and he drops this.
Well, you can't marry someone when you're in love with someone else.
No choice, Yvonne. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. And what happens next, you might ask? Alexa, play Prince's classic Kiss, please and thank you. And guys, it's the way that he holds her chin. Like, stop. Stop it right now. Kisses in these films were something else. There's this primal need, this primal passion that they have that we've lost as a society. I mean, like, look what happens after the kiss. Maria tells Georg that the Reverend Mother tells her that when the Lord closes a door, he opens a window. Yeah. A window to my drawers. Then he tells her he loves her. We've been new, but still, it's nice to hear. Literally, the passion continues after. Like, I can't even explain it, just watch.
Oh, can this be happening to me?
In the middle of it, though, Maria, being the theater girl she is, begins to sing because we can't forget what type of movie we're in. We can't forget what we're here for. She starts to sing a super underrated and my personal favorite song called Something Good, and it is something good indeed. For here you are standing there loving me, whether or not you should. So somewhere in my youth or childhood, I must have done something good. Poetry. He goes on to tell her that the first moment that he actually started falling in love with her was the moment that she sat on the pine cone. Okay, a choice. And she says the moment she starts falling for him is the first time that he blew that silly little whistle. Yeah. He starts singing to her now. And the shot they use is so romantic. It's their silhouette and there's like the blue lighting and then wrapped up in each other. The screenshot alone of this should be hung up in the Louvre. This is art. It can't be topped. Sorry, Mona Lisa. Like, a fun fact about this scene though is that the director actually purposely made the silhouette shot happen because Julie Andrews and Christopher were giggling all the time while they were shooting this. So he was like, I can't have their faces shown because they're literally like smiling and laughing. It was a great choice. So of course the next step after this is for them to get married, and that's what they do. And of course it's in the church and the nuns are helping Maria get ready. She looks incredible. I guess the nuns were kind of right from the beginning. Like, she wasn't set out to be a nun. So I can't really blame them now. Like, they were kind of partially right. Like, they kind of ate. She just wasn't fit for the nunnery life, and not all of us are. I mean, the ladies that get it, and the ladies that don't are me. If this wedding was put on today, it would be the same level as Princess Diana, okay? Or like Harry and Meghan. Royal, grand, rich. It'd literally be the talk of the century on every single magazine cover. The dress. Oh, the dress. She's walking down the aisle and the nuns are singing the song Maria. And it's just kind of funny because this song single-handedly shades the fuck out of her. Like, they're literally calling her a clown while she's walking down the aisle. This is the song you're singing on her wedding day? I'd be fuming. Anyway, they get married and that's the end. They live happily ever after. Nothing bad happens. At least that's how it ends for me, usually. I usually change the channel or turn it off at this point. But to keep it real, to keep it authentic, we have to keep going because we do have 30 minutes left. And these 30 minutes might as well be a completely different movie. At this point, we've gotten a musical with romance and joy and fun and play, and now it's war and Yahtzees. Thriller. It's intense, okay. In case you forgot, again, Hitler is alive and well. And so the camera pans to a building that's hanging the Yahtzee flag where there's a bunch of soldiers marching. We're getting right into it. Like, we didn't get to breathe. So some historical context is that at this point, an event called the Anschluss, could be butchering it, probably am. But yes, it took place, which was a forcible acquisition of the federal state of Austria into Yahtzee Germany. Not fun. So there's like tension between the local Austrians and these new Yahtzees coming in, because there's this expectation that all of these Austrians are supposed to like have full loyalty to Yahtzee Germany. They don't want to, you know? They don't really want to do that. The Von Trapp kids are with Uncle Sam and they're practicing for the festival. If you've forgotten, this is the festival that he suggested they go in, where Georg said he didn't want them to go in. He still doesn't. He actually doesn't know that Uncle Max is doing this. But Georg and Maria have been on their honeymoon for a month now. A month. Don't piss me off. And apparently, when you're on your honeymoon, you just don't really have contact with anybody else, so they haven't even been in contact with their kids or with Uncle Max. Anyway, they're practicing outside for the festival that they're not supposed to be doing. And Zeller, you know, the Yahtzee from the house party, comes up and is looking for Georg. And he's like, well, sorry, like, he's not here. The way he's acting towards Uncle Max during this conversation has the kids concerned, because it's just very intense and just not very kind. Okay, and we get Marta saying this.
Maybe the flag with the black spider on it makes people nervous.
Girl, you're on to something. Rolfe, who is now a soldier, comes up to Liesel and gives her a telegram from Berlin that is for Georg. The energy's off. His eyes are hollow. He's fully gone over to the dark side. But at least we dodged a bullet, you know? When they get home, Georg and Maria have actually come home, and we get Georg tearing down the Yahtzee flag that's hanging outside of his house that he didn't give permission to even be there, and he rips it in half. Hottest thing I ever did see. So it turns out they came home early because they found out about the Yahtzee Germany invasion situation, and the kids spill the beans about singing at the folk festival, and no surprise, Georg disapproves, as we thought. Max is like, well, it's for Austria, and Georg's like, well, Austria is not really Austria anymore, is it? Max goes, the whole taking over thing happened peacefully, so at least we can be grateful for that. Georg's like, grateful? Not the thing for Uncle Max to say. In fact, Georg says this.
Sometimes I don't believe I know you.
We love a man that stays on business, though. Like, it doesn't matter how close you are, he is going to tell you how it is. So Liesel is kind of heartbroken over Rolfe. Girl, stand up. She goes to Maria, her mother, now for advice, and they end up singing a little like reprise situation of 16 going on 17, but it's more about her like getting older and finding herself and finding her true love in that. It's a little bit problematic still, but considering the circumstances of where we are in now, it's kind of the least of our problems, so I'll let it pass. The telegram from Berlin is an offer for Georg to join the Navy of Yahtzee Germany and to accept it immediately. And by immediately, I mean he needs to literally be at the base in Berlin by tomorrow. Oh, well, that's a little short notice, don't you think? Like, I have plans. And he, like, can't refuse, obviously, because the Yahtzees are them, and they won't stand for it. But they can't stay there, right? So what's the next solution? Escape. We are running away. Tonight! My stress is rising. We flash forward to the night, and we have the whole family ready to go. They're planning to drive to Switzerland. In the real story, in case I haven't mentioned, this is pretty historically inaccurate, but you know, gotta do it for the cinema. They actually just take a train to Italy. What's the fun in that? So they're pushing their car because they don't want the motor to like cause any attention, but they don't really make it far. As soon as they get out of the driveway, Zeller is there with two other cars full of other Yahtzees and is like, like what you doing? He tells Georg that he has orders to personally escort Georg to Berlin, but Georg saves face and he's like, oh, well, the folk festival that we were skipping is tonight and we're set to perform there. So I want to do that first. So he's like, fine, whatever. Like, we're gonna follow you, we're gonna escort you because we don't want you like driving off. For now, we're in the clear, right? We have to think of a different plan. They're singing on stage and there's like Yahtzees like lined up on every single level just watching. It's pretty uncomfy. Zeller is literally sitting front row. We're kind of in a pickle. And there's an encore. They sing So Long Farewell. And if you know the choreography like I do, you know that throughout the song, one by one, they say goodbye and they disappear off the stage. So by the time the song ends, all of them are off stage. The audience is clapping. The judges have their verdict for whoever won. They're counting down the top 3. Shout out to the 3rd place winner who doesn't stop bowing. It makes me giggle. They get to the 1st place, which of course is the Von Trapp family. When you're called to win, you're supposed to exit through this tunnel to the stage to accept the award. But when the spotlight shines on the tunnel, no one comes out. They call their names again. Still no sign of them. Then one Yahtsee comes running out and is like, they're gone! Gags everywhere. I mean, they left quick. We find them hiding out in the Abbey because the nuns always pull through, and the Yahtzees come a knocking, and the nuns put on their greatest performance. They're like, oh, who's the Von Trapp? I never heard of them. But they still end up searching and scoping out the place. Now, Reverend Mother has our back, and she is leading us to the cemetery where we can hide in the crypt. She also lets us know that they've closed the border, so we can't drive across the border anymore. So the next course of action is to drive to the mountains where we can go over the border on foot. What mountains? Well, the mountains that were in the beginning of the movie, in the aerial shots, of course. It's all tied together. The hills are alive with the sound of freedom. The Yahtzees are scouting out the cemetery now, and we're sweating, okay? But luckily for us, there's a gate that's locked that separates them from us, where we are, but they still shine flashlights through. And there's a couple of times where it gets closed, right? And guess who is there with them? Rolfe. Ugh! This man won't leave us alone. So the rest of the Yahtzees are like, okay, they're not here, let's head to the roof. But of course Rolfe is like, and he decides to hide behind a tombstone. The family kind of is like slowly creeping out to try to check if the coast is clear, and Rolfe jumps out from the tombstone and shines their light right on us. Liesel's like, Rolfe, please. Because she's a teenage girl who still has this idea that a guy that she spent a gazebo rendezvous with once has any sort of loyalty to her. We've all been there, girl. Like, I get it. Rolfe is about to blow a whistle to signal all the other soldiers, but Georg rushes out of the crypt and is like, whoa, 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 and tells Maria and the kids to get. Now we're in a standoff between Rolfe and Georg, and it's a big deal because Rolfe was our friend. He knows us. He was getting it on with our daughter, for crying out loud. You know, we trusted him, right? Rolfe's like, you're the one we want, not them. Georg's like, put that down, because, forgot to mention, Rolfe is pointing a gun at us too. Georg is like, you're only a boy, dude. You don't really belong to them. Come with us. Come escape with us, which is like so much better than I would have ever been. I would have immediately been throwing hands, but you do you, I guess. Rolfe is looking nervous. He keeps like stepping back. He keeps saying that he's going to kill us. And Georg is literally staying super cool, calm, and collected the entire time, to the point where he gets close enough that he grabs the gun and slowly slips it out of Rolfe's hand. And then he says,
You'll never be one of them.
Which, cold and badass, but probably not the right thing to say, because now Rolfe's ego is bruised enough that he starts shouting for the lieutenant. Georg books it out of there. Luckily, he doesn't have to go far because there's a car already waiting with Marie and the kids inside, so he just yeets in there and then they drive off. Whistles are blowing, all the Yahtzees are trying to run for their own cars to chase after them, but oh, the cars aren't working anymore. I wonder why. I wonder what could have happened. Who do we have to thank? The nuns. It's because of them and their bravery that we do make it to the mountains. The last shot of the movie is the family hiking on the hills while the song Climb Every Mountain plays in the background. It's emotional. Cinema. Everyone's crying. We've made it out. We survived. And we will sing again. And that's the movie. Super fun. Super intense. Like, crazy third act. But still a happy ending. This movie really has everything. And we have to applaud them for that they fit so many different things into one. It was a risk and it paid off. At the end of the day, if you're a nun who wants to sing, maybe what you need to do is go nanny for a lot of kids and a really hot dad, and that'll really like awaken how your life is actually supposed to go for you. If you enjoyed watching this video, please give this video a like. Respectfully comment your thoughts below, your insights, your analyses. And as always, subscribe. Or don't. I can't make you, but I would love it if you did. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.